All right, I've got the beginning pieces for framing in the attic door. I've got I already took the 2x4 in there and built out the header of it. I wanted to bring that header down another 1.5 inches. So I ripped a piece of like 2x10 down to 4 inches so it would fit not only the stud but the sheetrock. And then I got the top jamb and the 2 side jambs of the door cut and dry fit. And I also cut the 40-inch lower piece that's going to sit for basically the anchor for this whole door frame and where the ship ladder latch will bolt onto. But I dry fit these, then we came out, stained them. So I'm actually going to take them in now and I'm going to get these all popped into place. That way I can get exact measurements for the rest of the trim around the door. Yesterday, Dayna and I finished up the trim that goes around the attic hatch. I'll eventually get to a door up there. I think it'll end up being like a barn door that slides on the inside. There's a lot more room on the attic side, so maybe a door that slides to the left, but we'll get to that in a little while. But we're gonna keep the ball rolling this morning with just some small, odd projects while we pull the trigger on some big materials. We are putting a built-in sort of on this wall. This is, opposite from the kitchen over there. And we're starting with basically like a floating shelf, floating desktop, I would actually call it. But it'll be the same height as the kitchen counter, so it'll be that 34.5 inches off. And I was gonna lower it a little bit. Most of the times a built-in, if you were doing this, might be a little bit lower, but if we ever wanted to slide lowers underneath this, they would fit at 34.5. So we're going to leave it that height, but it'll be basically a floating desk that goes across the whole entire cutout. And we're just going to make it out of some 2x10s that we're going to rip down and we'll kind of piece together. And we'll basically make our own top, and then it'll free float on some cleats that are on the wall. So this morning I went around and basically marked my height, which was 34.5 inches all the way around. I'll probably throw a level on the board and stuff, but I'm pretty sure that the floor's, good enough to just go around and mark that I don't have to throw a level up there. But I went around and marked 34.5, and then I basically went around and found all my studs and made just a mark a little bit above my 34.5 inch mark, so that basically it'll cover it with the desktop when it goes up. But this wall's got a lot of electric running through it. The panel sits right behind, I think, this wall right here, or maybe this wall, this bay, but there's a lot of wires coming through here. They're at like 32, so it'll be a little finicky once we get to this little section right here, but for the most part, we're basically going to run about an 11-foot pleat along the back wall. We're actually going to zip the two side pieces into that end. It'll basically go up like a big U, and then we'll just basically screw it to the wall. And then there'll be one piece that runs across the front, almost as like a trim piece, but gives a little bit of integrity to the front end, or a little bit of integrity to the front end of the desk. And then basically that 24.5-inch deep desktop will go on, and then it'll get screwed to the cleat, and then it'll get nicely screwed across to that front piece of trim. But that's the general idea. We're going to get started this morning, just cutting up some of the pieces and get started with the cleat on the wall. Good. So Dayna and I dry fit the cleat that's going to go on the back of the wall, and then I just brought it. I marked while we had a dry fit on the wall, I marked out all the studs. I brought it out here and then pre-drilled some holes where all the stud marks were, and now Dayna's just throwing a quick coat of stain on the areas that you would see if you looked at from underneath, but you know, nothing too crazy. And then once she's done staining, we'll get it back inside and see if we can get it hung on the wall and just keep rocking and rolling. Let me get mine straight. All right, we're there. All right, and we're there. I'm touching the wall. All right, I'm gonna go for it. Ready? Yeah. Okay, so in an effort to not miss any of this and not try and actually video all of it, I'm just going to tell you what we're going to do. So we've got the 3 boards that are going to be the countertop rip down. Basically took about a 1/2 inch off one side to make it nice and straight, and then the other side we basically worked out to make sure that we evened at 24.5 inches wide, which is right where we're at. Now that all 3 boards are ripped down, the idea is that, you know, we're going to put them together kind of like a butcher block. The only difference is that I'm not going to like biscuit it or anything. What we're going to do is I just marked off about every foot and then offset it on the first and the third board. Now we're going to set it up in the Craig jig, and I'm going to drill some pocket holes, and then we're going to basically put it back down on the table like this, and then I'm going to actually make 4 or 5 strapping to go across it. That should suck all the boards to make them nice and flat on the underside, and then we'll basically Craig jig everything together. We'll clamp it down, kind of jig it, and screw it all together once we get it clamped. But the idea right now is we're going to Craig jig holes, and then we're basically going to lay these back down how they are, get them as close as we can, and then basically start clamping and piecing everything together. So we may not catch it all, but that's what we're going to do.
You mean to come behind or anything? I don't know. It comes right up. Like a glove?
Long day. Doesn't seem like you get a ton done, but when you've got to take boards inside and outside, inside, outside, and just trim a little bit here and there, it starts to add up time-wise. But today, really what we wanted to get done was exactly what you're looking at. We got the cleats measured and cut, and we got them installed on the wall, and then we built our little countertop. It's just 3 2x10 by 12s that we cut down to about 130 inches. And then we ripped about 3/4 of an inch off each board to give it that nice square edge and also to make it the 24.5 inch depth that we needed. But we got that all taken care of, sanded down, stained, and then we got this nice trim board that we put in the front for 2 reasons. One, it's just a nice trim board and it covers everything underneath, but also it gives this countertop a little bit more to rest on in the front. So now I feel like, you know, even though it's not even screwed down to the cleats in the back, I feel like it's got a lot more integrity to it than before this trim piece was put in. But that's about it for this part of this building so far. Hey, what's happening, everybody? So Dana and I have been working on the float-ins the last couple days. We have the counter pretty much in and where it needs to be. And then we have some other goodies that we've been working on to put on top of those. And now that we know everything's pretty good to go, we're gonna go in now and basically get the rest of that countertop secured to the cleat and then get the bookshelves that are gonna be part of the float-ins all wrapped up and in their place. So let's take it. there's the float-ins. Here they are, the float-ins. You've seen it here. Again, another ShabinLife first. Float-ins. We did the corrugated cardboard custom flooring. Now we're doing the float-ins.